President Donald J. Trump has returned to the White House, and with him, he's brought a sweeping set of executive orders, one of which reports to put an end to the EV mandate. Now, there may be differing opinions on whether this is a good thing or not, but one thing that is not an opinion is that this is based on a lie. Confused? Let's talk about it right now. Hi, my name's Rich, and welcome to Wings, Wheels, and Wires, and welcome to today's episode on the EV mandate lie. Now, I think it's important for me to start off by being upfront on where I stand on this topic. I am indeed in favor of electric vehicles, and I do believe they are the future of personal transportation. With that said, you would think that I would be in favor of an EV mandate, but you would be wrong. I'm actually somewhat libertarian on this issue, and I agree with Ronald Reagan when he said,
"Less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny."
So if there was an EV mandate, I would actually morally be against it. I think the government has the right to set parameters on things like emission standards, but they don't have the right to dictate what products companies make, i.e. what drivetrain that they can put in their car. Now, there is a logical argument in favor of this, and it gets pretty dark, but we'll talk about that later in the video. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's talk about the EV mandate lie. First off, to President Trump's credit, he did indeed sign an executive order titled Releasing America's Energy. Included in this is a portion that puts an end to Joe Biden's EV mandate. So at this point, you must be wondering, so what's the lie? Here it is. There is no federal level mandate that would require you to buy an electric vehicle. Now, some states like California do have progressive phase plans that do eventually set a target of 2035 by being 100% electric. But on a federal level, no such mandate exists. It's amazing how many people believe that it does exist. Every time I do any kind of video that attracts the attention of the anti-EV crowd, I always have somebody say, I should not be forced to buy an electric vehicle. And honestly, I agree with them. You shouldn't be forced to buy an electric vehicle, and you aren't. Now, what we do have on a federal level is President Biden's Executive Order 14037, titled Strengthening America's Leadership in Clean Cars and Trucks, which sets a target of 50% of automobile sales to be either electric vehicle, plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, or a fuel cell vehicle by 2030. Now, if we look at this executive order critically, it's actually kind of pointless. First off, if you choose not to buy one of those types of vehicles, you can just easily be part of the 50% that doesn't buy them. Also, it sets guidance for sales, not for manufacture. And while manufacturers and dealers can incentivize people to buy one type of vehicle or another, they do not control that. So at the end of the day, this mandate can't be enforced because the consumer will buy what they choose to buy. Also, there is another part of this, and that is that even without this mandate, based on the trend of plug-in electric vehicle and EV purchases over the past few years, will easily be about 30% without such a mandate. So why exactly did they do this? It's also important to note that there was also another executive order and some guidance from the EPA that probably needs to get talked about, starting with Executive Order 14057, which will require all new federal fleet vehicles to be electric starting by 2035. Now, this affects government fleet vehicles. It doesn't make any requirements of manufacturers, and it doesn't make any requirements of the consumers like you. Also, the Environmental Protection Agency issued guidance in 2024 with much stricter emission standards. This was titled Multi-Pollutant Emission Standards for Model Years 2027 and Later Light Duty and Medium Duty Vehicles. Wow, whoever comes up with the titles for them, Doge needs to go ahead and get rid of. Now, this might be the source of what some people are calling the EV mandate, except that it states, manufacturers will use a diverse range of technologies, including advanced gasoline engines, reducing engine out emissions, improvement in tailpipe controls, additional electrification of gasoline powertrains, and electric powertrains. Now, if you look at this closely, what it basically says is that the manufacturers can utilize more efficient gas engines, better emission controls like better catalytic converters, hybrid technology, and electric vehicles. It also states it is the manufacturers who will decide the ultimate mix of vehicle technologies to comply. Here is the source for that. Now, if you look at these, it is pretty specific that one, there's a variety of options they can use, and that it is the option of the manufacturers on how they get to these emissions. So, hardly sounds like a mandate to me. So, with that said, there is no EV mandate as it is. Now, earlier I mentioned that I am morally opposed to implementing a mandate, but it would be fair to point out that there is a logical argument for this, and we'll cover it now. Again, it doesn't reflect my beliefs, but it is the logical progression that we might be looking at, and why maybe mandates might actually be helpful, even though I'm opposed to them. Now, fair warning, this gets pretty dark, so if you want to end on a happy note, now's probably the time. If you are enjoying this video, please hit that like button down below. While you're down there, hitting the subscribe button would greatly support the channel. And, of course, don't forget to hit the bell notification icon so you don't miss any upcoming videos. And stand by to the end of the video to hear my new subscriber shoutouts. Let's start with looking at the auto industry as it is today. Volkswagen, Nissan, and Stellantis are all facing possible demise in the next couple of years. Toyota and Honda are facing reduced sales year over year. Toyota's down 4.7% globally in sales, and Honda's down 11.4%. Now, why does this matter? Well, the biggest thing driving down these sales and putting these companies on the risk of being out of business is increasing competition from China, especially from EVs made by companies like XPeng and BYD. They are gaining an ever-increasing market share everywhere outside of the United States, especially in Asia and Europe. Now, I'm sure you must be asking, yeah, but why do we care in the United States? We basically are able to hold the Chinese manufactured vehicles out of the United States, and we have tariffs to protect us from them coming in. And under the Trump administration, no doubt, these tariffs will go up. And this is where the story gets dark, because you see, while we are protected here in the United States, China while they get an increasing size portion of the automobile industry and EV industry, they benefit from increased economies of scale and a larger profit margin globally. It would not be hard to project this out to where China has global dominance over the automobile market. And there would be a point where our tariffs wouldn't be enough. How could that be? Well, let's take an example. Let's take an American-made vehicle and a Chinese-made vehicle that hypothetically both have a break-even point of $20,000. Now, let's put a 200% tariff on the Chinese vehicle, now making it $60,000. Now, these companies can and would take a loss of $41,000 per vehicle, making it $19,000 compared to the American $20,000. Now, why would they take such a massive loss? In order to erode the market share of the United States companies. You see, as the US companies lose market share, they lose their economies of scale, and the price of producing each vehicle starts creeping up. Now, China can manage to maintain this forever, because what will end up happening is, yeah, they'll lose, say, hypothetically, 8 million per year in the US market. But if they're making 9 million per year in the rest of the world market, that is a profit of 1 million per year. They can continue this indefinitely. Unfortunately, I doubt that US manufacturers will be able to take that kind of loss for very long in order to stay competitive. Now, if you doubt that this would happen, let's start with the fact that this is exactly what's happening to those manufacturers I mentioned earlier that are struggling. China is doing this exact same thing to them in other markets. And here in the United States, this is already happening. Tesla did this last year by maintaining their market share, by lowering the profit margin on each vehicle, and they managed to still be profitable while sacrificing profits for volume. Also, remember how I said that we've been able to keep the Chinese manufacturers out of the US market thus far? Well, that's not even exactly true. Companies like Polestar and Volvo, who used to be European owned, are now Chinese owned, and they are for sale here in the United States already. And Chinese manufacturers are considering moving manufacturing to the United States. Well, while this would help with US jobs, it's still putting control of the market in China's hands. Now, what do EV mandates have to do with this? Well, US manufacturers are already well behind the power curve on EVs as compared to China. And the only way for them to stand any chance is to get in the high gear yesterday. And unfortunately, due to the political climate and a lot of anti-EV information that's out there, this is not likely to happen organically anytime soon. And the only hope we have to avert this dark future would indeed be mandates. Even though I'm opposed to them, I fear that without them, by 2040, your choice in which car you buy is going to be which Chinese car you're going to buy. But that's my take on it. Let me know down below what you think about this. That's it for today's video. Hope you found it helpful. Stick around for the subscriber shoutouts, and here's a video YouTube thinks you're going to like.
And now it's time for the subscriber shoutouts. If you'd like your own shoutout, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and either make sure your name is visible or put in the comments down below that you subscribed.
Mark Cunningham, Les Magyar, Marlon Martinez,